Hello friends, welcome to my page once more. On this video, I'm curious to know who is Very Dark Man. I've tried to ask myself, who is this guy? What made him so thick that he is loved by all Nigerians, young and old, from an obscure growing to a very prominent in the society? The extraordinary rise of Martin Vincent Otse, from an obscure young Nigerian to one of the country's most powerful digital voice, Very Dark Man, popularly called VDM, is the public persona of Martin Vincent Otse, a Nigerian social media commentator, activist, content creator, and increasingly prominent humanitarian figure. Born on April 8, 1994, Otse has built an extraordinary following by doing something that Nigerian politicians, celebrities, and even some traditional media personalities often struggle to do. He speaks in language of the ordinary Nigerian. He is blunt, he is confrontational, he is sometimes controversial, okay? He doesn't appear intimidated by political office, celebrity status, or even wealth. And that combination has transformed him from an internet personality into something much bigger. A digital pressure group with one face. His supporters see him as an online police, watchdog, and voice of the masses. And critics sees a man who has sometimes goes too far, makes allegations before sufficient verifications, and uses humiliations and confrontation as weapon. Both descriptions are important if we want to understand VDM. Honestly, he is the man of the people. His real name and origin is what I'm trying to identify. His full name is Martin Vincent Otse. The strongest available report identify him as being of Edo State origin, with several sources placing his family root around Agnebode, Esako East. However, there is inconsistency in published accounts about his exact birthplace. Some sources report Kaduna, while others' biographies have claimed Abuja or Lagos. Because of those contradictions, I will not present Kaduna, Abuja, or Lagos as an indisputable birthplace without qualifications. What appears considerably more consistent is that he is Edo by family origin and spent a significant portion of his formative years outside Edo. Likewise, there are websites claiming that he is specifically Benin, while others describe him more generally as Edo, Afe, my origin. I will therefore avoid making a stronger ethnic claim than the evidence supports. In other words, state origin Edo State, reasonably well supported. Specific ethnic group, conflicting reports should be treated cautiously. That distinction matters because a compelling biography should not turn internet speculations into facts. His family name, wow, a humble beginning. One of the most interesting things about VDM himself has revealed about his background concerns his parents. According to his own biographical disclosures reported by Legit Nigeria, his father is a mechanic while his mother takes care of other people's children. He has also said that his highest formal education qualification is an ordinary school leaving certificate O level, although this conflicts with numerous online biographies claiming that he obtained a university degree, Legit Nigeria, and also the Nigerian news. This is important because there is a temptation to construct a glamorous story around somebody who becomes famous. But VDM own account suggests something much less glamorous. He came from an ordinary working class Nigerian background, a mechanical for a father, a mother doing caregiving work, a younger man trying to survive. That background may help explain why his communications resonate so strongly with people who believe Nigerian elite, elite class has become disconnected from ordinary citizens. Now let's look at the education question. An important correction. There is a remarkable contradiction online concerning VDM education. Okay? Some biography site says, University of Lagos, okay, business administration. All right. Now, others claim different institutions and qualifications, but that is by the side. But VDM himself reportedly stated that his highest qualification was an O-level ordinary school leaving certificate, saying in his own words that he did not go far in formal education. That is legit. Nigeria and Newswire Nigeria both reported these disclosures in their publications. Therefore, friends, I would not confidently write that Verydarkman graduated from Unilag with a business administration degree. But he is the most important figure to the young and the old, the mouth of the masses. That claims appear repeatedly online, but it is contradicted by his own reported disclosures. And strangely, that makes his story more interesting, not less. Because whatever one thinks about him, his influence demonstrates something important. Okay? His influence demonstrates something important. Formal education and intellectual capacity are not always the same thing. VDM has developed considerable ability to communicate, research issues, mobilize public attentions, and understand the mechanics of social media. His education may be limited in the conventional academic sense, but he has effectively created a self-taught politics and also social media education system for himself. And that differentiates him from others. Now, my question and my own curiosity is, how did he become famous? I'm curious to know, how did he become famous? Because people need to learn from that. From an obscure bringing to a very famous somebody in the society. This is where the story becomes extraordinary. VDM's major rise began around 2022 and 2023, initially through social media commentary and also confrontations involving celebrities and businesses. He became particularly associated with exposing or challenging businesses and personalities he believes were misleading or exploiting Nigerians. And one of the early issues that helped establish his reputations involved his criticism of the skincare sellers and products. His intervention in such controversies helped develop the persona that Nigeria will later recognize. The man who would publicly call out when everybody else was afraid to. The cable described him as an enigmatic, outspoken activist whose online prominence grew through video dealings with trending issues, including his own criticism of skincare brand. That's according to the cable lifestyle. And then something happened. The audience stopped seeing him simply as an entertainer. They began seeing him as an investigator. Okay? Then as an activist. Then as an advocate. Okay? And eventually, for someone, Nigerians, vast majority of Nigerians, both young and old, he represents. As the voice that says what they wish they could say. Why did Nigerians connect with him? That is the one question I need to answer. Why did Nigerians connect with him? This may be the most important part of this story that I'm about to tell. Government could not be trusted. Nigeria has millions of citizens who feel government doesn't listen. Police doesn't listen. Celebrities doesn't listen. Corporation doesn't listen. Politician doesn't listen. Traditional media sometimes doesn't represent the facts or even represent the citizens. Then came a young man speaking directly into his own phone. No elaborate television studio. No political appointment. All right. No government office. A man who cannot be enticed with wealth or political office or even money. No traditional newspaper column, just his phone is the weapon. I see something wrong, I'm going to talk about it. And people listen. His language is not the language of a policy papers. His language is the language that the ordinary citizens understand and can relate to. It is the language of the street. That is precisely why someone in a village, a market, a university, a mechanic workshop, or a middle-class Nigerian home can understand him. He doesn't speak at Nigerians. He speaks with them. That is eloquently well placed. He doesn't speak at Nigerians. He speaks with them. That is an enormous political asset that no politician, even the presidency, do not have. From an online police now to an activist. VDM began describing himself as something resembling an online police, investigating claims, confronting alleged wrongdoing, and also pressurizing institutions to respond. This has occasionally produced remarkable results, and Nigerians are in love with him. An attack on him is an attack on all Nigerians. One of the clearest examples is the Cote d'Ivoire trafficking controversy. Okay, in 2025, VDM publicized allegations concerning Nigerian children and young women trafficked to Cote d'Ivoire. His intervention attracted the attention of NAPTIC, Nigerian National Agencies for the Prohibited of Trafficking in Person. Okay, NAPTIC subsequently arrested 2 suspected trafficking figures in Abuja after victims mentioned their individuals during those conversations connected to VDM interventions, according to Vanguard News. That is significant. No politicians wielded the power this young man has. And Nigerians have described him as an Article 5 of NATO rules and regulation. An attack on him is an attack on all young Nigerians. Because this is where his activism moved beyond social media entertainment. Something he said online resulted in government agencies taking actions immediately. That gave his supporters a new reason to trust him, believe in him, and followed him. Now let's talk about the humanitarian transformations. This is perhaps the most important evolutions in the VDM story. He eventually created the Martin's Vincent Otse initiatives, MVOI, through which he began presenting himself not merely as an online critic, but as someone interested in practical humanitarian interventions. I clap for him. He has done well, marvelously. Among the initiatives associated with MVOIN have been efforts involving education, water, and support for vulnerable people. Report also stated that in 2025, he donated 20 million to NAPTIC towards the repatriation and rehabilitation of trafficked Nigerian girls from Cote d'Ivoire. The agency reported to return the money while the repatriation effort nonetheless proceeded, with Air Peace providing flight at no charge, according to Wikipedia. Now, the significance is not simply the amount of money, it's his presence matters a lot in the Nigerian youth. It is the transformation of his public image, from commentator to activist to organizer to humanitarian. That is a very different trajectory from the typical Nigerian influencer to someone who speaks for the people. Now let's answer the question, why some people now call him the voice of the masses? That took me aback to write this opinion. Why some people now call him the voice of the masses? It would be an exaggeration to say all Nigerians consider him their representative. They don't. But it is entirely reasonable to say that he has developed an unusually large and passionate constituency among Nigerians who feel politically and socially excluded. His popularity comes from several things. First, he confronts powerful people and celebrities. Secondly, businessman. politicians, government institutions. He confronts all of them without fear or favor. Influencers are also included. Nobody appears completely immune from his criticism. He doesn't go about looking for trouble, but when you step on his toes, he fight back. Secondly, he speaks with the polished language of politicians. He doesn't sound like a government press release. And thirdly, he exposes issues ordinary people can encounter: fraud. He exposes issues ordinary people encounter, like fraud, exploitations, poor services, okay, police issues, okay, intimidations, all right, scams, and some also human trafficking. These are some few issues, among others, that he got involved to help out, especially the celebrity controversies and also government accountability. He's involved. Fourth, he is willing to embarrass institutions. VDM is willing to embarrass institutions. And embarrassment can be a powerful form of accountability in a country where formal accountability mechanisms sometimes move slowly. Fifthly, he understands social media psychology. Okay, he understands social media psychology. He understands how to make people watch. He understands outrage. Okay, he understands reputations. Okay, he understands viral storytelling. That is a political skill, whether people like it or not. And that is why I ask, who is Verydarkman? But there is another side to Verydarkman. There is another side to Verydarkman. A serious biography cannot become a fan tribute. Yes, a serious biography cannot become a fan tribute. VDM has real weakness and controversies, and some are serious. His confrontational styles is one. Okay? His greatness, his greatest strength is stimulously one of his greatest weakness. The same aggression that makes people love him can make him appear reckless. His style sometimes involves publicly accusing or humiliating individuals before the false facts have been established. The cable described describe the divide clearly. Supporters see him as an advocate for marginalized people, while critics accuse him of, cyberbullying and making potentially defamatory allegations, according to the cable. All these are all allegations. That is a legitimate criticism. Okay, but still, yet the masses love him. Accountability requires evidence. If VDM wants to become more than an influencer and establish himself as a serious national civic leader, he must evolve from, I heard something, to here is the evidence, of which I notice currently he's doing it. His legal battles, okay, is the second issue. His confrontational activism has repeatedly brought him into conflict with the law. In 2024, he was arraigned over allegations involving cyber stalking, which sometimes they call it cyberbullying, concerning public figures including Iyabo Ojo, Tonto Dike, and Sam Clef, or whatever they call him. He pleaded not guilty. In May 2025, he was rearraigned on 5 counts, and again pleaded not guilty, according to Premium Times Nigeria. According to Premium Times Nigeria. A separate case involving gospel singer Mercy Chinwo resulted in a court, issuing a bench warrant for his arrest after he failed to appear at a scheduled hearing. The allegations concerning statement he made about Chinwo and a contractual dispute, according to Channels televisions. All these are allegations. Okay, allegations are not convictions. So let's stress that. It is important to emphasize these are allegations, and legal proceedings not prove that every allegation against him is true, but they demonstrate the consequences of his approach. Especially, let me characterize it as style of approach. Freedom of expression does not mean freedom from accountability for the defamatory statement if a court established liability. Thirdly, the danger of becoming the judge. Okay, there is an even deeper problem. VDM sometimes presents himself almost like investigator plus prosecutor plus judge plus media outlet. That is dangerous. But yet, the masses love him. The institution fear him. Because you have to know the country you live in to know how to tackle the problems. A country like Nigeria, you have to be brave. And he has the bravery in him. Okay? A genuine whistleblower should expose evidence. Then investigators investigate. Then prosecutors prosecute. Then court determine guilt or not. The moment an activist becomes declaring someone guilty before due process, he risks reproducing the same injustice he claims to oppose. Nigeria does not need another powerful individual who cannot be questioned. It needs institutions. But that does not mean he's a lawbreaker. Okay? That does not mean he's a lawbreaker. If the laws of the country is working, he will not expose his life to danger. So he confronts the institutions the way the Constitution confronts the citizens. VDM should therefore be extremely careful about this. Life has no duplicate. Fourth, his activism can sometimes appear selective. I don't have proof for that. Another criticism frequently made against him is selective activism. That criticism deserves examinations. If you expose wrongdoing when it involves people you dislike, but remain silent when it involves people you support, you are not really an independent watchdog. You are becoming a political partisan. For VDM credibility to survive long time, his standard must be, I will expose wrongdoing regardless of who committed it. APC, PDP, Labour, NDC, Atiku, Peter Obi, Rabiu Kwankwaso, Tinubu, Sowore, whoever it is, whichever celebrity it is. Okay? Pastors, politicians, Muslims, Christians, whoever it is, would not know fear or favor. But this evidence have not been substantiated according to the cable news. Okay? So all these are all allegations and they have not been substantiated. So it cannot be regarded as an evidence. For every good thing has a bad thing, for every bad thing has a good thing. With all these allegations, he still have the support of the masses. That is how he becomes genuinely credible and believable by the masses. In fact, the masses trust him, believe him more than even the politicians. In the scale of 1 to 10, if they place VDM with the presidency, the masses are going to believe what the VDM said, than even the presidency. Now, let's look about the 180 million hacking controversy. Another unusual episode involving his claim that about 180 million had been stolen from an NGO account through hacking. He later said that the episode was deliberately staged as an experiment to test how quickly misinformation was spread through the Nigerian digital media, Wikipedia. Whether one regards that as a clever social experimentation or irresponsible manipulation, it demonstrates an important problem. Okay, VDM sometimes plays with the boundaries between activism, entertainment, and provocations that can generate enormous engagement. But it can also damage trust. He has not yet crossed the line. When the system pushes you to the wall, you fight back. The system have pushed him to the wall, and he's returning back same to them. Still, the masses love him. He's endeared to the masses. A serious humanitarian organization needs transparency, not perpetual suspense. Does he have the transparency? Yes. All those accusations of non-transparency are all false. They have not been proven. For transparency in terms of his NGO, yes, he is there. Okay? Now, 6, he needs stronger institutional structures. This is very important. This is perhaps my biggest criticism of VDM. His influence is still heavily concentrated in one individual. That is dangerous. What happens if VDM disappears tomorrow? Does MVOI continues? Who audit it? Who sit on its board? Who publishes its financial statement? Who independently verifies donations and who investigates complaints? Who determines which humanitarian case receive support? All these questions need answer. If the answers is essential, then he has to make it institutionalized and concentrate all the powers in one hand. Okay, VDM decides when it is not yet a mature institution. VDM decide, then it is not yet a mature institution. It is an extension of personalities. And Nigeria has already seen too many movements rise around charismatic individual only to collapse when the individual becomes controversial or disappears. So the great opportunity before Verydarkman, okay, this is my assessment. A great opportunity before Verydarkman. This is where I think VDM stories becomes much bigger than social media. He has something extremely rare. Trust among a significant sections of ordinary Nigerians. Money cannot easily buy them. He has something extremely rare. Trust. Money cannot buy it. Trust among a multitude section of ordinary Nigerians. Money cannot easily buy that. Among all these allegations, he has the trust. Money cannot replace it. Political parties cannot manufacture it overnight. From what he has built, political parties that have been existing for years cannot manufacture it overnight. Government cannot simply order it. He earned it through years of speaking publicly and taking risks. But now comes the difficult part. Can he institutionalize that trust? That is the real test. If VDM wants to become a lasting national civic institution, he should establish an independent board, professional accountant, annual audit financial statements, transparent donation records, a legal and investigative team, a verification department, okay, a complaint mechanism, all right, independent humanitarian assessment. Okay, those are very important. And then clear separation between his personal finance and also the MVOI funds. If he does that, something remarkable could happen. He could transform from, okay, Verydarkman, the influencer, into something unstoppable. Okay, he could transform from Verydarkman, the influencer, into Martin Vincent Otse, the civic institution builder. Why his story matters to Nigerians. The VDM phenomenon tells us something profound about Nigeria. People aren't necessarily following him because they believe he is perfect. Okay, they follow him because he gives expression to frustrations they already feel. The young Nigerians who can't find a job, okay, he is there for them. The person who has been exploited by a businessman, he stands for them. The woman who feels ignored by authorities, he stands in for them. Okay, the family struggling with poverty, he is there for them. Okay, the victim of trafficking, VDM is there for them. The person who believes a celebrity has taken advantage of them, VDM is there for them. All right, the citizen who believes government agencies aren't listening, VDM is there for them. All right, they see someone with a phone who says, all right, who says, I will speak for you. That is a incredible, powerful gesture. Okay, that is incredible, powerful gesture when he says, I will speak, I will be your voice. But Nigerians should not make him a messiah yet. This is where I would challenge his strongest supporters. VDM is not above criticism. If he demands accountability from politicians, he must accept accountability himself. If he demands transparency from government, his humanitarian organization must also be transparent. If he accuses people of corruption, he must provide evidence. Okay? If he accuses people of corruption, he must live above board. If he demands due process for himself, he must respect due process for people he accuses. If he says everyone should be accountable, he must be accountable too. That is the difference between an influencer and a genuine civic leader. Now, let me give you guys my assessment of VDM. Okay, I've never met him in person, but I've followed his trajectory to greatness, and I'm inspired by his trajectory. If I had to summarize him in one sentence, if I have to summarize Verydarkman in one sentence, Verydarkman is an ordinary effective Nigerian digital activist whose rise demonstrates the enormous hunger for accountability among ordinary citizens, but whose future credibility depends on replacing some of his confrontational personalities-driven activism with evidence, institutional transparency, and due process. What are his greatest strengths? What are his greatest strengths? His greatest strength is fearlessness, authenticity, communication, mass appeal, ability to mobilize public attentions, willingness to confront the powerful people in the society. Okay? And then also the humanitarian intervention, understanding of the social media. His greatest weakness. This is his greatest weakness. The confrontational excess, risk of unverified allegations, okay, legal controversies that are still pending or not yet cleared. Those things are all allegedly. They have not been proven. Okay, potentially selective activism, personality-driven movements, insufficient of institutionalizations, need for greater evidence-based investigative methodology. Okay, from the trenches to the national influence. A guy that rose from the trenches to the national influence. The most remarkable aspect of Verydarkman's story is not his followers. It is even his word. It's not even his word. It's not even the celebrity he has confronted. All right? Not even the celebrity he has confronted. It's not even the politicians he has criticized. It is the speed of the transformation of VDM. A young Nigerian from a modest home, a modest working class family whose father was reportedly a mechanic and whose mother cared for the people's children, had become a figure capable of generating national conversation simply by speaking into a camera. That is greatness. It has moved from social media controversy into activism, humanitarian intervention, and a public accountability. His interventions in human trafficking issues demonstrated that the social media activism can sometimes push government institutions into action. NAPTIC itself linked its investigations and arrests to information emerging from the intervention of Verydarkman, according to Vanguard News. That is not insignificant. That is not insignificant. The question now is not, do you love VDM? The question now is not, do you love VDM? The better question is, what will Verydarkman do with the power he has accumulated? What will Verydarkman do with the power he has accumulated? Because he now possesses something that many politicians spend billions trying to obtain. The attention and emotional trust of ordinary Nigerians. Power of the magnitude can become either a force, a trust, and binding. A force of accountability. Okay? A force of accountability, or another personality cult, which is correct, is the force of accountability. The difference will be determined by what he does next with the power he possesses. If you build institutions, verify allegations, publish his account, accept criticism, and respect due process, and apply apply excuse me, apply his standard consistently, his legacy could become much bigger than social media. All right, but if he remains dependent on controversy, insult, unverified allegations, and personality-driven confrontation, his enormous popularity could eventually become his greatest vulnerability. Verydarkman's first revolution was finding his voice. The young man has found his voice. His second revolution must be learning how to institutionalize it. And perhaps that is the most important lesson of this extraordinary rise of this young man. I envy his rise. For the father that have this child, God bless you. For the womb that produced this young man to this greatness, God bless you. For the home that produced this young man to the masses, God bless you. And for the siblings that gifted this young man to the multitude of Nigerians, God bless you. Nigerians young people are not necessarily looking for another politician. They are looking for someone who will listen, speak, and act when institutions fail them. And they have found that voice in Verydarkman. Verydarkman has discovered that hunger. Okay, he has discovered his voice. The question now is whether Vincent Otse can turn that hunger into durable, transparent, and genuinely accountable movements. That will determine whether Verydarkman becomes merely one of Nigeria's biggest internet personalities or one of the country's most inconsequential civic voices of his generations. That's according to cable news. Man in the news. He's always man in the news. Who can tame the controversial activists? Who can tame the controversial activists? The controversial activist, Verydarkman. No one. Verydarkman VDM is relatively enigmatic figure. He is resolute, bewildering, unapologetic, outspoken, and a force to reckon with. Friends, I rest my case.